Hi, welcome to my presentation again. Today we are talking about system 1, 2, 3 thinking process. How consumer think or how consumer visualize while purchase and how we can analyze this situation. How we can analyze this thinking process. So that is based on a paradigm, a psychological model. It's called system 1, 2, and 3 thinking. Before starting this presentation, you imagine a scenario. Think that I am a UX designer. Think that you are a UX designer. You want to design a ice cream. So that's your product. So your question is whether our consumer will accept my ice cream or not. Normally, any UX designer is having the same question in his mind. Being a UX designer, that's your prime duty. So you have to design user experience according to what the targeted consumer looks for. So imagine that scenario. So we have to measure it because whether my ice cream will accept a UX design after my design, the entire product, not only just look and feel. Think about the complete product. So I'm doing the UX design. So whether the targeted consumer will accept my ice cream, right? Okay, we can think about two aspects of this product. One is how the consumer will interact with the product. There are two aspects. One is they are emotionally attached. For example, the ice cream, they are emotionally attached to the ice cream. That's a product attachment. At the same time, the consumer will be emotionally attached to your brand. That's also emotional attachment. So one aspect of consumer interaction based on emotions or consumer acceptance is based on emotions. Another aspect is accepted the product after analysis. Consumer will think whether this product is good, this product is good for my health or good for my family. So whatever may be the situations consumer required, so he will think whether this product is good and the consumer will go through the specification of the product. Then there is some analysis is going on based on the knowledge of consumer. Then the consumer will accept the product. So these are two different directions. One is emotionally attached, then attached after analysis. I hope you are getting it right. Then think about a consumer is attached to emotionally attach your products, attach your product or brand emotionally. Another is accepted after analysis. So how this thinking process going on? So we emotionally attached thinking process, we call it a system one thinking. Because the consumer is attached your product or brand emotionally, that we call a system one thinking. Then when the consumer analyze your product and brand and accept it after his own analysis or his own way of thinking, that's called system two thinking. This analysis is not by the UX designer. This analysis is done by consumer based on his knowledge and his culture or whatever the parameters for the analysis they will put it into that. Then they accept or reject. So that's called system two thinking. How do we analyze these two processes? We can consider it as a two processes. One is system one thinking, another is system two thinking. How do we analyze? System one thinking is based on behavioral psychology, and system two thinking is based on mathematical psychology. These are two different aspects of psychology, two different methods of psychology. We can analyze these two thinking process. So system one thinking is based in depending on behavior. And system two thinking is mainly depending on the analysis. So that's why it's called as mathematical psychology and behavior. So we have to use the models from behavior psychology and mathematical psychology for analyzing these contexts. Think if you can find a match between these two, because human mind is not depending on just emotions, they will think, and human mind is not uh, taking decision just based on analysis. There are emotional factors. So decision by a consumer is a combination of emotional factors as well as analysis, right? So UX designer has to find a match between these two aspects. One is analytical aspects, another is emotional aspects. If you can join these together, or you can find a consensus between these two aspects, you will be a perfect UX designer, and your product will be accepted without any doubt to the consumer. So this is the context we are going to analyze. How consumer think in system 1 and system 2. And there is one more, system 3. So we are talking about system 1, 2, and 3, the paradigm, the model of system 1, 2, and 3 thinking. Think about any product you talk about, maybe not only ice cream, think about banking, insurance, think about airlines, think about bike. This is a fact. Consumer is emotionally attached to the product and brand. At the same time, they will analyze how we can understand this situation, how we can interpret this situation, and how we can analyze a consumer mind using these models. That's what we are talking now. What is the science behind it? Thinking Fast and Slow is a book by Israeli psychologist Daniel Kahneman. So in that book, Daniel talked about thinking fast and slow. Daniel described system one thinking as a fast thinking and system two thinking as slow thinking. We can accept this method, or we can synchronize the fast and slow concept with system one and thinking, because emotionally attachment is very fast, and accepting after analysis is always slow because it needs some time to analyze. That's why it's fast and slow thinking. But some psychologists say that there is no fast and slow thinking. Actually, there are two aspects of thinking. Okay, we can take it that way. But Thinking Fast and Slow is a great book by the Israeli psychologist called Daniel. What Daniel explains in the system of thinking. System one thinking process, you can see quick, in, instinctive, automatic, no, without any effort, mainly unconscious, emotional. These are the main aspects of system one thinking. Think about system two thinking. It's slower, a complex decision making, rational, conscious, logical, and effortful. These are the two aspects of thinking. How these two thinking process merge? That's what we are discussing now. The question is why consumer decide to make a purchase and when that decision happens. That's the biggest question in front of a UX designer as well as a brand. So why consumer decides to make the purchase and when that decision happens? That's a mystery always. It has been considered as an unknown variable to determine the best strategy to use when building a brand. Of course, this is really true when we consider the behavior using system one and system two. We can consider these are two main aspects through which analysis occurs. Think about a consumer who is emotionally attached to a product or brand and he's analyzing the brand. That's system one and two. There is one more stage we are talking here. It's called system three. That is also playing an important role, system three, because the combination of system one and two is happening in system three. That's why we can consider it as a system three, or some people say that it's inside system one and two. Okay, the combination of system one and two, that's okay. But why present it as a system three? Okay, system 1, system 2, system 3. What you're seeing here, a consumer is purchasing oil. Think about it. Pick that oil, maybe because of product or brand, he picked a particular oil from the choice of different brands and products available in front of the consumer. He selected one because she may be looking to the particular oil or she may be looking to the particular brand. That is called association. So she's emotionally attached to that particular product and particular brand. That's why she picked that product. That's called system 1. Then she's looking to that. She may be reading the specifications and she's analyzing what are the ingredients in that product. That is happening in system 2. What is system 3? She's visualizing the usage of this product. Think about, I can use this product for the breakfast I'm going to prepare for tomorrow morning. This will be a good and it's a tasty thing for my kids. Think it that way. So she's visualizing the usage. So system 1, she's attached to that brand. System 2, she's analyzing the specification. Then system 3, she's visualizing the usage. So in the visual space, it considers the emotional attachment to the brand and family and the specification, because how this product will be useful or good for her family. So that is a combination of the system 1 and 2. But she's visualizing how I can use it. So how do we analyze this situation? The system 1, system 2, system 3 thinking process. Think about this is happening in a split of second, or we can say that maybe not split of second. We can say that 5 minutes, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. System 1, system 2, system 3. Otherwise, you just go to a supermarket and you just buy a product. Think that you are going to buy a toothpaste. Just go to a supermarket, go to a store and select a toothpaste. There are multiple number of toothpaste brands are available with the different size, colors, and everything. You will pick one. How? On what basis you pick that? Because you have some attachment to the brand and a particular product or particular variant of the product as well as a brand. Sometimes you'll be looking to a particular product, still that may not be available, but you will pick something that is called your brand association as well as a product association. Then you look into the specifications, or you may be familiar with the specifications, so then you won't look into that. Otherwise, if there are a lot of choices available, you will look into the specification. It's a new brand you are taking, you heard about the brand but you never use that product, then you look into the specifications. Then you think, okay, this is showing some specifications. Is it good for my parents, or is it good for my kids? So whether this taste is good for my kids. Think about what the visualized space, in that visualized space, how the consumer is thinking. So you can experience it when you go to a store and when you select a product. So, but this is happening in 5 to 10 seconds maximum. But how do you analyze this 10-second user interaction? System 1, as I said earlier, system 1 is emotional, system 2 is analyze, system 3 visualize. So we have to approach these three aspects. Am I right? Yeah, these three aspects you have to analyze. Actually, what is happening in a consumer mind? Here, we are developing, or we are showing a scientific model, or the model based on human thinking process. Actually, the human get information, or consumer mind get information or connected to the world only through these five senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. There is no other channel you have to get information from surroundings, right? Think about eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Eyes will watch the product, ears will hear about that, nose will smell, and tongue will taste, and skin will feel. So there is only five channels. Any human being, that's you have only five channels. Then these five channels give information to mind. So mind, what mind will do? Immediate reaction to this input from these five channels. When you get a input from these five channels, your mind immediately react. When you see something, you immediately react. When you hear something, you will react. When you feel something, you will react. So mind will immediately react to these five senses. That's spontaneous. That's fast. We can say it's fast. That is quick. That's why we can categorize it as system one thinking. That's very quick. In a split of second, it will react. From your unconscious mind also, it will react. So that is happening in a purchase also. When you see a brand, when you see a product, that is happening in your mind. I say in a consumer's mind, and not in your mind. It's in a consumer's mind. So that's called system one thinking. Then immediately the system two, you that information will be passed on to your intellect, and the intellect start thinking. That is reaction to the input from five senses pass through the mind after analyzing. So intellect will take the input from mind or input from five senses to mind reactions. That intellect will react in logically. Whatever may be the logic you have, that's you are based on your culture, your education, or anything according to the consumer. So consumers' culture and education and everything will be act on it. So it immediately it will react with some logic. That is called system two thinking. That is a little bit slow than system one thinking, and that is rational and it needs more effort because you are a consumer is thinking with what the knowledge the consumer is having in his mind. So this is a little bit slow. That's why people call it as slow thinking. Then it is added to the knowledge of the consumer because consumer already has some knowledge. If you think about some product like toothpaste or any product you can buy, or think about any product, some consumer already has some knowledge. So intellect will compare the knowledge given by the senses from the surroundings with the knowledge the consumer is having. It's like a database. The consumer is having some knowledge about that product. Then compare between these two and reject or accept or add to the existing knowledge. So sometimes consumers say that okay, I need not record, it's rejected. Somebody just accepting that knowledge and adding to the existing knowledge. So the consumer's knowledge is little bit modified after this process. This is a continuous process happening in consumer's mind. Think about when you see something, when the consumer is hearing something, when the consumer is feeling something. This is the continuous process happening in consumer's mind. This is the process happening in a consumer's mind. So what is system three? System three is thinking platform based on imagination. So as I said earlier, after first system one and system two thinking by the consumer, it acted to or it added to or it passed to system three thinking platform for creating the imagination or visualizing about the usage. The consumer creates an imaginary world, then apply system one and two thinking process in relation with the input from five senses and his knowledge. The decision of purchase and brand are based on his experience in this imaginary world. So actually the system 1 and system 2 thinking process is passing to system 3 whatever the information the consumer is having from five senses, that is system 1, and in comparison with the knowledge the consumer is having, that system 2 is playing a major role while visualizing the usage of the product. So actually, the decision of purchase is happening in system three in the in that imaginary world. That's one of the important aspect you have to understand from this model. Okay, you have system one thinking, emotionally attached. That's okay. Then intellectual, logical thinking. That is system two. But when there is a visualizing happened by the customer and the customer is convinced with the usage of that product for her family or for his kids or for future, then only the purchase will be happening. Otherwise, they will just reject. I need not require this product, even though that person is emotionally attached to that product, even though the person convinced with the usage of product, but the consumer won't buy it. So in visualized space, consumer should accept the usage of the product and the brand, and consumer should be convinced with that. Only after that he will purchase. Okay, this is the process behind it. So when I look into this model, system one is based on top of mind. You know that how to analyze top of mind. So how do we analyze these information? So system one is based on top of mind. You have to take top of mind from the consumer. We can attach to system one. System two is based on depth interviews, because system two talking about more specifications and its reasoning and logic from the consumer's mind. We have to take depth interviews for analyzing system two, or getting information to system two space. Then system three is storytelling, because the consumer is visualizing a lot of things, how the usage, and whether it is useful for future. These things consumer is visualizing, so it's a story. So the storytelling is the right option for analyzing system three. So system one, two, and three. Uh, when we divide these into system one, two, and three, we can apply top of mind, depth interviews, and storytelling. Because being a UX designer, you have to divide these three aspects. Otherwise, UX designer can't analyze it, what is happening inside consumer mind. But consumer mind is very complex process, very difficult to differentiate between when the system one is happening, when the system two is happening, and immediately it goes to system three. But system three is very easy to differentiate, but between system one and two, this is very difficult to differentiate. That's why we put it as model, like whenever the system one starts, immediately the system two starts, and it's migrating from system one to system two. That's why when it is progressing, when system one is get reduced and system two get the importance more, because any human being will get information from these five senses, immediately that will attach to that product or brand with emotions. Then consumer will think. If a consumer will buy without thinking, the consumer will think without thinking, then that's a emotional buying. That's buying based on emotions. We always recommend that if a consumer is buying just by emotional attachment, that's not a sustainable purchase or sustainable process, because tomorrow consumer will reject it. If consumer buy after analysis based on her own logic, her own way of understanding, her own knowledge, then it's more sustainable. As a UX designer, you have to think both. The product should be attached emotionally, or brand should be attached emotionally. At the same time, it should give knowledge, or it should be acceptable according to the specification of the user. Both should be there. Otherwise, sometimes consumer will buy, but they won't use it. That's a problem. If that is a situation, that is more dangerous than not buying, because the consumer will propagate a negative aspect. I already bought it, but it's having no use. Don't buy. That is the propaganda, or that is the guidance the consumer will give to uh, his friend circle. So I already bought it, but actually it's have no use. Better do not buy. To avoid this, you, as a UX designer, you should look into the system two aspects. But system one and system two can be designed based on system three stories. Because three stories you have to collect from consumer. We don't know what are the usage, how the consumer is visualizing the usage. But decision is happening in system three. But based on that stories, or based on that visualized space, design system one and two. Okay, after analysis, what do you get in system one? Is emotional analysis. System two, you'll get facts, and system three, These are stories which is connecting to system 1 and 2, 3 to the life of consumer. These are the three outputs you as a UX designer you will get, and UX design should be based on, don't just, your imagination is not the right way to design. UX design, most of the UX designers will do that. Just imagine something, just to design as like an artist. Okay, that is your own creativity. It's like a poetry, or it's a like a drama, your own creativity. But you are talking in a commercial space, and you need a uh, consumer to use your product. So you have to analyze, you have to get information from consumer space, how consumer attach to that, how consumer think, and how consumer visualize. These are the three aspects. We have to analyze these three aspects. System one is, you can analyze with top of mind. System two can be analyzed using depth interviews. System three using storytelling. As a bottom line, I can say that, okay, think about a business. You being a business, being a brand, you should communicate in system one, because whatever communication you produce in advertisement or whatever communication material you are producing to a consumer, it should have the system one. It should give a emotional attachment. Just data, nobody is interested to just interact with data. Data with emotion, that is important. The system two is thinking about facts, that means data. There should be some specification, but the specification should be communicated through system one, and build brand using system three. So you have to build in the visual space of the consumer. That is so important. That's very important, because when consumer visualize something for her future, and your brand is supporting, or brand is uh, giving solution to, or giving a role in that consumer's visual space, and the purchase is happening. That's a perfect marriage between your brand and consumer, right? So communicate in system one, think in system two, and build brand in system three. Okay, what are the takeaways? As I said earlier, one aspect is emotional attachment, system one thinking, then behavior psychology. Another aspect is uh, after analysis, system two thinking, and mathematical psychology. As a consumer, have these two aspects. As a UX designer, you have to find the match between these two aspects of thinking process, then enter to the consumer's visual space. How consumer visualize about the usage of your product and brand. If your UX design is reaching to that level, of course, that's a great UX design you produced. Okay, this is the takeaway. Questions? Any questions? Okay, you can add questions in the comment box. Okay, how do we split between question system one and system two? Okay, that's a good one. So how we can say that system one and system two? How we can split? That's a very tough thing when you do the research, because system one, whenever you start system one, system two already started. So just when the consumer will change from system one to system two, that's a very difficult question. Some consumer will take long time to convert, change, migrate from system one to system two. Some consumer will immediately, within a split of second, they start uh, system two. That's a critic type of consumers start system two fast, but emotionally attached consumers will start system two late. The best thumb rule is whatever happening within 5 seconds, we can consider in system one thinking, because most of the consumers needs 5 seconds to uh, react in a system to thinking process. So analyze and react. That need 5 seconds. That in our regular research, what we consider is within 5 seconds. That is top of mind. If you react, if you ask what brand comes to your mind when you see this product, if the consumer is reacting after 10 seconds, we won't take it as top of mind, because it's not a top of mind actually. The consumer is analyzing or thinking, and what should I answer? Then the consumer is answering. That's not top of mind. So whatever reaction within 5 seconds, that is spontaneous reaction, that we have to consider top of mind. So most of the research people, what they UX researcher, what they do is we can when you take top of mind, we can take three baskets, three categories. Most of the people take two categories, that is reaction and then aided response. But what we suggest is we do is three baskets, that is reaction within 5 seconds, reaction after 5 seconds, then reaction while we prompt. So there are three categories we have to take while top of mind. Actually, reaction after prompt is not a big thing, but we are just analyzing whether that brand is familiar to that person. But reaction after 5 seconds is, we can't consider as in a system one thinking, but we can consider it as a top of mind. But actually, this top of mind we won't consider. It's better not to consider as a top of mind. Within 5 seconds, whatever reaction is coming within 5 seconds, take it as top of mind. That's a way we can move forward. The system two is based on depth interviews, and system three. Okay. Okay, good. Good to see you again, and thank you so much. I hope I delivered a good presentation and you got a takeaways. Thanks a lot. See you again on next week.